Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're coming to you with another Wednesday episode of our board gaming podcast, sponsored by Gray Fox Games.
Woo.
Indeed. So being a board gaming podcast, we will talk about board games. Jeff, how about you start?
Sure. I played a little bit of the Grizzled. It went like any game of the Grizzled does on easy. It went pretty okay. We didn't totally get fucked. When Fragile came out, which is, of course, you cannot withdraw if anyone has cards in their hands. Someone had Merry Christmas in their hand, so that significantly helped the pace of the game. I don't think we lost. We didn't lose a single mission. And we would have won one round earlier, except one of the guys forgot that he still had a card in front of him after he withdrew. So we still had to go one more round. Yeah. But that was fine.
Gotcha.
So the Grizzled happened.
How many people were you playing with?
Just 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No. But 2 people that had never played before, so.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
What'd they
You didn't
think?
want to just spring hard on them
immediately?
No,
I went easy. But no, I did not do that. Even though we didn't get any of the easy mission cards until the very last round. We only got normal difficulty missions until the final bullshit round anyways. I think besides that, it was just painting a lot of 40K miniatures and then playing a 40K themed board game.
Oh.
Which was for...
Oh boy, did we.
We played Forbidden Stars, the long-lost GW licensed Fantasy Flight game series. So we played a 4-player game. It was Zach, Paul, myself, and a newcomer to the gaming group and Kingdom Death, Eric. I was Space Marines. Zach was Eldar. Eric was Orcs. And Paul was Chaos Space Marines. Or Khorne, or World Eaters, or whatever the fuck they wanted to call them.
Something like that.
This all got planned out, I don't know, yesterday, maybe Friday. And Paul wanted to do 2 o'clock. And I was like, that's going to cut it close for a 4-player, all brand new to the game play length. And then so he said he would watch a video or something, which I would say we would take as learn the game to teach the people that would be coming over.
That's
how
usually how I feel like most people would interpret that statement.
That he watched a 15-minute video. I'm not sure which video Zach watched, but Zach also watched a video just in case. But Paul did not learn the rules in any way, shape, or form before we showed up. So it was at least it was over an hour teach to start with. And then there was another, let's say, 20 to 30-minute teach for combat the first time that happened. So the teach didn't even include the combat. And then we started at 1:20 or so.
And I mean, I'll say
sounds about right.
I'll say at the very least, the 1 hour teach did include setup and us taking how to set up the board.
Actually setting up the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe slight redemption there.
Slight.
Yes.
But of course, not knowing anything about the game, there was a lot of errors in the game.
That tracks.
So many errors.
But it's generally like any sort of 4X game. It has a little bit of Game of Thrones, where you have your little activation tokens for what order you want to give. You can move, which will then cause combat, or you can strategize, which upgrades your combat cards and your orders to better versions of those. You can deploy, which is recruiting and getting more units. And then, what was the last one?
You had strategize, you had...
deploy.
Deploy.
Dominate.
Dominate,
which is where you get the bonuses from your planets that you occupy, which are various tokens that will give you extra units during combat with reinforcements. give you like a little change purse for like 2 extra money, basically, and then one that's a forge hammer, which will let you kind of skip a tier when you want to build a unit, and then some units require that to just build, period.
Okay.
And then there's structures you can build, the bastions that are like bunkers or defensive things, cities, which you need like 3 cities to get the highest tier combat cards and units, and then
Sure.
Factories. That's where you build units from.
Okay.
And then everyone else, and it's asymmetric, fairly asymmetric, where everyone has little benefits here and there. So like Space Marines, they can, when they dominate, they can turn their like tier 0 unit into a tier 1, their tier 1 into a tier 2, and then they can also build off of their bastions as factories. So instead of having factories, you can just have bastions. You can produce 1 less unit total, but they're still nice to have, because that also is like a bunker that can build. And then like Eldar are really good at like moving as they want, and they have like, and each faction has more units of a certain type than the others. Like I had the most of the tier 2 like ground unit. Zach had the most of the tier 0 space unit.
Okay.
The orcs had the most tier 0 like units, like their general like ground troops. And then Chaos, what did Chaos have?
I think they had the most
The cultists?
the tier 2 like heavy things, or was that
no? I think it was just his cultists.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, because
But
he only had
they
6.
had
Because
1.
everyone generally has like 6, and then he only had 3 of his heavy thing, and I had 6 of the heavy thing, and that was like my hook.
Okay.
And the orcs are super tough, so it's a lot harder to kill them. Chaos can like go through warp storms with their ships once, which Paul cheated and ran over a planet that had 3 resources on it, where he normally would have not been able to do that at all.
That doesn't sound like Paul.
Yeah, so I lost.
Cheating?
I lost like a critical planet, and then he gained both the planets that were in that system.
Oof.
Yeah. So you generally just kind of go through the motion of picking up whatever your top activation tile is. If someone else covers it up, you have to, and you don't have any other actions, you just have to skip your turn.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yeah, and that's where turn order really comes into play. So even if you're last, you're also the last one to place down a tile, which means you can see what everyone else is going to do before that.
Okay.
And because they activate based on what's on top.
Yep.
Then if you're last, you get to theoretically go first at whatever spot you want.
Yeah.
All right.
All the minis were cool. The combat system was neat. It's very similar to this was I guess the reimplementation of StarCraft.
Correct.
Which
that's what I've heard.
Yeah. So the combat system used those kind of like weird card systems with the symbols on them, and then you go through 3 different rounds, and then whoever has the most morale will win if you didn't wipe them out. It was only a couple times where that didn't happen. The orcs really held strong at the end there. They took like 3 attacks in the very last round, and I don't think they lost a single one. Mostly because he ended up having like the best combat cards by then.
And his units tend to have more health.
They basically have 1 more health than their equivalent on any other faction.
Yep.
That seems pretty nice.
So it's really hard to kill them.
And he kept rolling well on dice too.
Yeah. Like when he attacked me, he rolled 8 dice. 7 of them came up as attack, which is 3 of the sides on the 6-sided die are attack. So 7 of the 8 were attack. So he basically rolled 7 4+.
Damn.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, there ain't shit I could do against that. I guess I'll just... I think I lasted the 3rd round, but all I had was attack, and he just fucking annihilated me. The ships are super important. Like, we kind of found that out as we went, because if a planet is adjacent to another planet, even if it's on a different tile, because they're all like square tiles with like 4 different sectors on the tile, you can literally like walk from one planet to another planet without a ship in there if they're adjacent.
Okay.
But if there's
why not?
if there's space in between, voids, you have to have a ship to kind of act as that bridge.
Okay.
But if you want to attack another tile, you can only ever attack one space on that tile. So even though you have spaceships and ground units, you can't attack the spaceships and attack the other ground units. You can only have one combat per activation. So you would have to put 2 combat activations in one system, one to move the ships in to destroy ships, and then another to move the ground units in. Another thing is you can orbital bombard the people that are on the ground, but you can only do that if you don't attack with ground units. So you can't like soften them up with like your massive orbital firepower and then go in with ground units if you also then had combat and not use 2 combat activations. But you only have 2 combat activations. You can only attack twice or move twice, because moving and attacking are both the same action. So it's really playing out like what you need to do, which is go to 6 locations somewhere on the map and get your little objective tokens. And if you get 4 of them, you win. Or whoever has the most at the end of the game, then they win.
But they're scattered everywhere because
your opponents place them.
Yep.
As they place down the map, you put down 2 you put down 2 objective tokens that aren't like the same.
Gotcha.
So you can't have 2 of someone's same objectives in the same system. It just so happened that mine were on the far-flung other edge of the fucking universe.
Yep. As were mine.
Yes, and it's not like I don't think we really did it on purpose, because as we placed things down, it's just like when you place a tile down, you can just put your starter units there. You have like a home system thing, but you technically don't have to put your own units or any units in your home starter system. It's just a really good system.
It's a really good system for domination.
Yeah, and I think there's only 1 void space in your home system, where I think the rest of the tiles have mostly 2 void spaces in them.
Mine had 2, but that's because
one of them was
people.
Because the Eldar have craft worlds that they live on, which is a spaceship.
Oh, okay.
They are space elves. That is literally what they are.
Good old space elves.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I would like to play again to kind of get more of what I learned out of the game and have less shitty things happen where like people were doing things they shouldn't have that ended up fucking me, so my game wasn't as fun. Basically knowing the rules. I sure would like to play this game when everyone knew the rules.
Don't say.
I end up getting last. Paul got first, the most cheater.
Just for clarification, you got last because of the first tiebreaker.
Yes, because Zach and I did tie on objectives. I got my first objective on turn 8, which was the last turn, and then Zach couldn't win his combat against the orcs, and then I went back and attacked the orcs, and once again they rolled like gods, and his combat cards are just insane. Like his combat cards, I think the orcs are clearly the best at combat because of those cards. They have the most symbols on them, so they just get the most passive attack, defense, and morale. And then he gets a bunch of extra attack and defense and morale based on how many units he has, and he can just get extra units. That's the other thing that fucked me was before we learned that you could only have 3 of any token type, so he threw like 4 or 5 reinforcement tokens into one battle when he had one ship, where normally he would only have 3 extra. I still ended up winning that one, but I would have crushed him had he not been able to throw those 2 extra reinforcements in there. They all would have died.
And he had added an extra reinforcement on one of mine too. I remember.
Yeah, like little stuff like that would have made the game better, or at least more even. Like if I would have gotten 1 more planet, I would have tied with Zach, and then I would have gotten an event card that would have given me 1 more unit. And that would have tied me with Zach, and then we would have literally just tied for 3rd. We both get 3rd. And then Paul won with 2 objectives, and Eric had 2 objectives, but Paul had more planets. So Paul got 1st, and then Eric got 2nd. Basically, first and second most cheaters.
Yes.
First and second cheater. Got it.
And to be fair, at least Paul was able to get his 2 objectives.
Yes.
First round, but at a, he didn't cheat for that. But
because he can just put a cultist on a neutral planet with if he played a dominance there or something. I don't know. I never really read exactly what was supposed to happen.
Basically, when he did dominant, he can then put a cultist from where he's activating it, move it to an adjacent empty space, basically.
Yes, so he could just take over a planet for free that's adjacent to another one of his sectors.
Yeah.
That seems good.
Whereas Jeff's was about upgrading units. Mine was moving it from one space to any other space that I control. And then Eric's was creating units.
Eric's was just, you dominated here? All right, just buy any unit you want and put it there.
Yeah, which is pretty OP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That seems pretty good.
Especially because it's not like Twilight Imperium where units can only attack once. You can attack in a spot and then have those units immediately go somewhere else to attack with the other activation.
As long as it's adjacent, because you're only taking them from one adjacent sector and the sector that you're in. So even if two are nearby, it's not like both can go in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Paul and I did have one great space battle where I just went so hard defense. I was outnumbered, but I had reinforcement tokens. And I just went so hard defense in my card purchases after I kept getting trounced that he did no damage to me the entire time. I did no damage to him, but my morale was higher, which meant he had to retreat. So, so basically we came to a stalemate, but I had higher morale, making it so he fucked off.
Get fucked.
Yes.
Yep.
Right on.
But yeah, it was all right. Like I said, I'd like to play again with more correct rules.
I don't know if I would want to play again, but that's just because this was a game that was it was supposed to be 2 to 3 hours and it ended up taking us 6.5 or so. And I just, that's in my mindset, there are other area control games that fit in that time that I'd rather play.
Fair enough, I suppose.
Yeah. There just wasn't, I don't know exactly what it was, but the combat wasn't clicking for me in a way that I found enjoyable, or it felt too focused on area control in a way, and it just felt really weird, having the fact that so many of my objectives were super far away, which I'm sure Jeff felt that too. As soon as you start, you're well, I know at least a couple I'm not fucking getting, because I think there was one in your home system or close to your home system, Jeff?
Yes, it was right next to that corner that I had.
Yeah, that I was just well, there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to get to that. So
it was literally the opposite corner of the board.
Yeah, exactly. So they're you can get 6 of them, but you can immediately eliminate 2.
And you need 4 to end the game.
Yeah. And so it didn't give me a good starting feeling with end of turn 1. Paul was able to get 2 objectives, and then I was able to get 1, and I think Eric got 1 too.
Yeah.
And then almost no objectives got
taken until he took his second, in the 7th round, and I took my first in the 8th round.
Yes. And then that was it. So,
damn.
Yeah.
And that could have been just how we built the map, or versus how we built our units, where we probably would have built a lot more spaceships early on just to be able to get those paths to more places.
Yeah.
Or built the map in a way that you could go from planet to planet with just ground units and not need the space ships, where where I started, I couldn't actually move to any other planets except one, I think, without spaceships.
Yeah.
Not ideal, it seems.
Yeah. That's why I'd like to give it a second shake, just to kind of see how knowledge of the game really affects how you play. And then I'd actually use the strength of my Space Marines, which is clearly the tier 2 ground unit, because I can have the most of them in the game, and that would definitely give me some extra power, because I can have 6 of those where everyone else can only have 3.
Yeah.
That does seem like a pretty good advantage.
I could definitely see the strength of having the spaceships, but because of that, mine were weaker. They had less health than everybody's.
Yeah.
And I could see, I definitely saw a lot of things where I fucked up, and I could see a lot of ways that I could do it better. But I'm I don't know if I want to put in the effort for that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a game that got, unfortunately, cut off too soon from existence, with the license being taken away from Fantasy Flight, where I think one expansion to this game would have really smoothed out a lot of those edges and kind of put more depth into what you were doing, which, unfortunately, this game will never get.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of like my big drawbacks from ever really wanting to give it a shot. I've actually heard quite a few different heavy gamers speak positively about it, so like I'd be interested in trying it from that perspective. But with it being kind of dead, and then based on kind of what you guys have said, my interest has waned substantially.
Yeah, I don't think you would end up liking it. There'd
this
just
would
be
be
one
a game.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this would be a game for sure where I'd be very, very careful about who I played with.
Yeah,
I can understand that.
I certainly got piled on, and there was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
You got piled on, and then Paul got piled on, and he started complaining about it, even though he was the one that was winning, so it made sense. Unsurprising, right? And then Eric at the end, but he was able to hold on. So
yeah, like we just didn't have enough damage to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, if I could orbital bombard him and then attack him, like, yes, I could have actually done something. But that was not what was going to happen.
That was not an option.
Oh, and then
right on.
There's event cards you get at the end of every round, depending if you strategize. And I kept pulling the same one over and over, where, like, 4 of them are tactics that have, like, an instant benefit, like, get a free bastion, get a free unit, get a free order upgrade, or get an order upgrade, and it's cheaper depending on how many bastions you have. And I just kept getting those over and over, where there's schemes that have, like, you keep them out in front of you, and you can use them as, like, a special power on top of something else. Like, if I did an orbital bombardment, I would be able to automatically change all the dice into damage instead of, like, shield or morale, which damage is the only thing that matters for an orbital bombardment. Like, something like that would have been awesome. And then
that sounds pretty good.
And then my second to last event card was like, all right, get an order card for cheaper, and I already had them all, so it was literally wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I never got any of the cool event cards, unfortunately.
Bummer.
Where Zach had one where it was like, before damage is allocated, just retreat all your troops to a nearby system, and nothing happens. So if he was going to lose a battle real bad, just be like, poof, they're gone.
Run away! Run away!
Everyone's saved.
Which I use them for, so...
Yeah.
Nice.
No, but it's definitely one of those things where it just felt, and it might just be because I'm thinking, like, comparing it at least somewhat to Game of Thrones and Twilight Imperium. Yeah, that it just felt like a lot of times, like, you would fight something, and it's like, oh, okay, well, you did, like, maybe destroyed 1 or 2 things, and that's about it.
Bummer.
So
yeah, unless you had, like, overwhelming force, you weren't gonna win.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how StarCraft was. Like, it wasn't like annihilating people. It was all about, like, attacking, and then they would retreat, and then they would maybe lose a guy, but then they'd still have some force there. It wasn't really about, like, annihilating people over and over.
Yeah.
But this is like those games, except it has no political phase. Like, there's no version of, like, dealing with other players or anything like that.
Yes.
It's there is only war.
Did StarCraft have any of that? Or
No. No.
Okay, that's what I thought. So you've played StarCraft, it seems like then. What is the main difference between these 2 games?
So in StarCraft, if I remember, it's been many years, but I think you start with your home planet, and that's it. And then you actually build planets as you explore, and then they will connect to, like, a grid depending on what planets you're exploring, and then you get to kind of, like, put your home planet connected to, like, that grid at some point.
Gotcha.
So there's more, like, exploration in the game.
Yeah, that could be a thing that I missed on it, because I'm not that big a fan of how it actually, like, looks on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know, everything is very boxy.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely kind of a, like, here's a zoomed-in version of what this sector is. There's a bunch of space, and then, like, hey, there's a planet there, but this is the only important part, so we're just going to have... Here's a picture of the planet. The planets in StarCraft were also sectored off into, like, 3 different spots on the planet, So you could land in one and someone else could land in another. It doesn't mean you're going to fight. You have to actually go into each of those different spots on the planet to fight. And then there was like little warp gates that would take you kind of like in Forbidden Stars. You could be able to go off the top of the map and come back on from the bottom. Something like that.
Interesting.
Because you got to place where the A warp gates were. So now A connects to A. But that could be across the whole map or something like that.
Yeah.
Which this does not have.
Right on. What about you, Zach? What have you been playing?
So I played that, but I also played Was it last night? Yes, it was last night. Some of us were trying. Wes and I were trying to play Fall Guys, a new game that's out on the PC, but the servers were being wonky. So we were like,
Shocker.
you know what we haven't. You know what we haven't played in a while? Arkham Horror 3rd Edition, and so we booted up Tabletop Simulator and started it. We ended up playing one of the original scenarios, Veil of Twilight, dealing with the Silver Twilight Lodge. And then May ended up joining us like 2 rounds in, because I tried to convince her to just drop her current Arkham Horror LCG game. I was just like, just resign on that one. This is the more important cosmic horror that you need to worry about. So, but she joined us after a couple of rounds, and it was real easy to just add somebody to that. So
right on.
So the main hitch on this one is at a certain point through the game, you get introduced to the Silver Twilight Lodge, and you can choose to join them or not. And you have to take a dark pack in order to join them. But we decided we usually end up doing that, and so we decided, hey, for a change of pace, let's not join them. And I remember why we always join them, because not joining them fucking sucks. The main difference is that in the Mythos bag, you have to add an extra monster spawn and then an extra gate burst.
Oof.
Yeah. And so we threw them in the bag, and then on the next turn, Wes drew 2 tokens. It was gate burst and then gate burst.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was rough. That one you want to, like a lot of these, as you get more Doom on the scenario sheet, the story progresses. But the fact that we kept getting all of these gate bursts meant that anomalies started appearing more frequently, and then whenever Doom would have to go on to those anomalies, they would then move to the scenario sheet. So, we were starting good in the beginning, but then as soon as we had that extra gate burst in there, it just started
spiraling
with Doom everywhere, and then it was like, oh, we're at 5 Doom, and then by the end of Wes's turn, it was like, oh, well, we're at fucking like 9 Doom now. And then it really fucked us over. And then we ended up losing. And it was like, yeah, that seems about right.
that
and I was like,
tracks.
Now I remember why we do not join them, because it is a fool's errand to try and fight the Silver Twilight Lodge, at least initially. Because you can join them and then like defect later, and that felt a lot. I feel like I remember that being a lot easier. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I played one other game with you, Adrian.
Yeah. So this is the only game I played this week. Megan and I did try to play a game of Pandemic Legacy Season 1, but Megan, at the time, it was after I came home from work, and she had been drinking, and we, made a mistake early in the game before we had put any stickers or done anything. So we're like, all right, well, shit, we forgot something very crucial during setup. Let's just restart. So we restarted that one, and then got into the game a bit, and then realized we'd forgot to put epidemic cards in. So we restarted again. And on the third game, there was something else that went wrong. And so Megan just used the tabletop simulator, flip the table option, and said, nope, I'm 4.5 beers deep at this point, and that is no longer the way that I need to be to play this. So we did not end up actually playing.
Gotcha.
It really sucks. The first game, we were doing so fucking good. When we realized, and the only thing, and we should have just, in retrospect, we should have just kept going, because the only thing that we had done wrong is we had forgotten to use our previous month's victory thing, which was place a military base and a starting military base anywhere.
Spoiler.
And it was far enough into the game where it was this feels like really cheaty to do it at this point when we see like where the outbreaks are and where we want to be and where we're having trouble. So we were like, we should restart because we were kicking ass.
So you should have just not taken it.
That's what we should have done. But I kind of wanted to restart because it was about to be a situation where my dispatcher was about to get 2 scars because he had the very unfortunate thing of like, I'm going to move into this Coda city, into the city with Coda to do a search. And there was nothing in the city. The city was clear. It was good. He does his search. He ends his turn. At the end of his turn, it was the epidemic, and it was like a big, thick stack of cards that got shuffled back on, but the card that came off the bottom was the city he was in, and then we shuffled it, and then that was the first draw. so he got a scar from the epidemic, from the outbreak, and then he was going to get another scar from being in a Coda city at the start of his turn, and that was going to be 2 scars. And that was going to be uncomfortably close to death for a character who has been in every game so far. So I'm fine with that, with us not playing that one.
All right. So after that, you decided, you know what, I'm going to call Zach, and then we're going to play something completely different.
Basically, yes.
Yes.
Because it's getting to the point where I'm getting to the end of season 1, and now I'm like, well, I should also make a point to finish season 2. So I played an entirely different, completely separate game of Pandemic that's even a different season, whole nother realm. So Zach came over and we did our 2-player continuation of our season 2 game that originally had 4 players, but we, for the sake of getting it finished, have collapsed it down to just Zach and I. We did September, right, Zach?
October. Yes. It was the first one where it went down from 3 objectives you needed to complete to 2.
Yes. Along with a bunch of other things where it was like, do this and do this and do this. And it was like, oh no, that's not great. Like, we went from having like 4 objectives and we needed to do 3 of them to we have 2 objectives and we need to do them both.
Yep.
We managed to pull it off, and we got like earth-shattering, like major reveals that I won't spoil, even though I want to talk about it so bad. But it was like, what the fuck?
Which month was this?
October.
Okay.
October. Yeah, we ended up winning.
Fucking
it
barely.
was close. Yeah, it was like one of those where we were counting out moves. Like, all right, as long I think that nothing can screw us, and we should be able to get to like back to, I think it was one of my guys' turns. Like, and he can do the last build action, and we'll win. and so we did manage to win. It was very, very, very close.
And it's the first time in Pandemic Legacy Season 2 for us that we've gone down to 0 events.
Yeah, 0 funding. So we finally have gotten to baseline.
No, baseline I think was 4.
Well, you start with 4, but I feel like, 0 is the baseline. You're not getting any additional help, but you're not hurt. Which granted, I guess this is like, it never gets worse than this. 0 is the worst. So maybe that's not the baseline. I don't know.
Just don't be like as many event
10
cards as possible.
Yeah, don't be like 10 event cards.
Because I'm pretty sure we got there at one point in our campaign.
We got to 8, and I think that was the last game that we or it was after the first game that we played with just me and Adrian, because we were just sort of like getting back into the groove of how the game worked.
Yeah.
And then, but after that, I looked, and it was basically like we had like lose-lose, but then it was like win-win-win, lose, win-win. And so we've slowly been,
We've actually done pretty good since we switched to just the 2 of us.
Yes.
Just the 2 of us. I'm digging it though. I'm glad we got a game of that in. It was like, what was it, like 5 months to the day?
Yes.
Or was like March 12th to what are we in?
12th.
September? August 12th?
Yeah.
I don't know what month we're in. 2020 is all blurred together.
Yeah, time is no longer a fixed construct.
Yeah.
So after, like, with playing this, do you think you and Megan are going to go to season 2 after you guys are done?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. Especially, like, Yeah. I really like how it was nice playing 2 again.
To see the
I like how
differences.
different it is. Yeah. Because it is a very different game. That's one of the things when I went back, it had been so long since I'd played Season 1. When I started playing with Megan, I was like, oh man, I forgot how much this is like Pandemic with some other things. Whereas Season 2 is like a different game.
Yeah, I mean, it basically felt like Season 1 was a lot of like season or base Pandemic with expansions, like the expansions, but sort of like modified in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas 2 definitely went off in its own direction.
I agree. Really like it though. I like them both. Yeah. So Megan and I do want to try and find, I think, if I can get a good price on it, I would like to actually get a physical copy of 2 to play with her. Yeah. 1, I'm not sure there's as good of a TTS mod for it as there is for 1. And also, like, there's enough things that I really miss about, like, just the physical. Like, I like the physically tearing up cards. Even the mod we're playing for Season 1, like, you don't have the sticker sheets for some of the things. You just have, like, a token bag that you lock the tokens in place for, like, permanent icons.
Right.
And so you miss, like, some of the additional little rules about them that sometimes are on those sticker sheets. And just little things like that aren't as good, I don't think, on TTS.
That makes sense.
I do like that some things, like the action cards, you can just copy-paste, so you can have extras so that you can very easily see all of the actions, which isn't as big a deal in a 2-player game.
Yeah.
But if you were playing with, like, more people, that would be more noticeable.
I know with our Season 2, we have all 4 of the action cards, like action card detailing things, flipped on all of their sides, just so we can actually see everything that we can do.
Yeah.
It would be frustrating with 4 people with that because, like, each of them are double-sided and almost completely full. So.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's really nice in TTS is being able to just copy-paste and make more of those if you need them. So, but yeah, so that's what I played. And that, I think, wraps up pretty much what we've been playing board game-wise. So we can move on to some bantery stuff. My biggest bit of banter is we're going to take next week off because Megan and I are going to Michigan. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of a vacation. We're going to go visit her. Huh?
I said, no, it's just, like, looking forward to actually getting outside of Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. So, her family's been doing really good about, like, social distancing and isolating, and they're in the UP of Michigan, which has, like, had hardly any cases at all. And so we're not very worried about them exposing us. And Megan talked to them a whole bunch back and forth, and, like, they're okay with the risk of, like, hey, Megan is a, like, nurse, and so there's a little bit of an elevated risk there. And so we're going to stay at her mom's cabin, and that's going to be the only place we go. We're packing all of our food here. We're driving. So we're only going to stop for gas. So we'll only interact with gas pumps. We're not even going to go inside. Maybe bathroom breaks at, like, rest stops or something where we can get in and get out while masked up. Really try to minimize how much we expose the entire Midwest as we drive from Colorado to Michigan. And then we're going to be there for about a week, and then we'll come back. And yeah, not planning anything crazy, just hanging out at her mom's cabin on the lake. They got, like, a little lake there. I'm excited because after the camping trip I talked about a couple episodes ago and getting Jester to swim at that camping trip, I'm really excited to take her to Michigan where there's the lake and, like, where I can actually, like, get out in the water and swim with her. Like, it'll be deep enough where I can swim, and it won't be as cold as that fucking river in the mountains.
That's mountain water. It's fucking freezing.
Yeah, frosty. It'll also be nice to not smell smoke every morning because our state is burning down.
I've been having to turn my, like, fan off in my window, like, in the middle of the night because I'll wake up and be like, I smell smoke.
Yeah. Yeah, whole lot of that going on.
How will she do with the, has she been on that long of a drive?
No, this will definitely be Jester's longest drive. So the current plan is, so Tuesday I'm going to work, and then I'm going to come home. We're going to pack the car, and then I'm going to do the MHGG stream, and then we're going to get in the car, and Megan is going to drive the first little stretch, and and then I'm gonna take over. So we're hoping that for the first it's about an 18-hour drive. So we're hoping those first 6 hours, it's like Jester's normal sleeping time, and so she should just lay down and sleep. She sleeps just fine on 3 to 4 hour drives around the state. So we're hoping she'll just sleep. Then
she'll wake up and be like, oh guys, are we almost there? And you're like, not even close.
Yeah. So that's when we'll feed her breakfast, and then we're going to dose her with Benadryl and knock her back out.
Nice.
Yay, drugs.
Yeah. It was Megan specifically about 3 weeks ago asked our vet, we had a vet appointment, and specifically asked her, hey, we're planning some longer trips in the car with her. What is some good ways to help her not get car sick? And the vet was like, dose her with Benadryl. It's like, all right. And my grandfather, who's also a vet, he backed that up as well. He's like, yeah, definitely just small amount of Benadryl should knock her out for 4 to 6 hours.
Well, no one said
So
small.
He said small. The other one just said just fucking
Dose her.
Yeah, dose her. Yep.
And then and so that's the second 8 hour or 6 hour block. And then the third 6 hour block, we're not sure. We don't know if we want to double dose her with Benadryl or if we're just going to suffer with her being super fucking whiny for the last 6 hours. Just turn the radio up really loud.
Just look at her straight in the eyes and just be like, Jester, this is your life now. The house is gone. This is it.
This is what you will always feel like this for the rest of time.
Yeah, that won't cause her any anxiety at all, I'm sure.
Well, it's because dogs have great sense of timing and just
Correct.
how long things are.
And she knows human words.
Yes.
Also true.
She'd be able to just speak English if dogs had the right mouth parts.
Yes. Well, here's what you do is you say all that and then you wink at her and then she'll get it. She'll be like, you're joshing.
Just joshing.
It's the wink that does it. The power of winking.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that's my main bantery stuff. I'm going on vacation and our state's on fire.
Gotcha. I've got a couple. The first one is for at work. We basically got gifted from management, more or less, a $50 Amazon gift card, and I was like, "Oh, sweet! This is great."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know where this is going.
Yeah, so me and my boss were talking about it, and then she's like, "All right, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick," and she came back about 3 minutes later, and I'm like, "So I've already spent my $50 gift card." And I actually spent $120 on top of it. So,
Great.
Because I was like, ooh, I got this $50 gift card. What do I want? And I was like, oh, I've been eyeing some of the space Legos. And I was like, ooh, this International Space Station one is $70. So I could buy it and I only have to pay about $20. And then underneath it, it had, you know how Amazon has that, hey, people tend to buy all these things together, which is probably a lie, maybe not. But underneath it had, there's also the lunar lander module for $100. Do you want to also buy that? And I was like, you son of a bitch. Add to cart. So I got the lunar lander, and then I got the International Space Station. And yesterday I spent about 3 or 4 hours building the lunar lander, which was a lot of fun. And so now it's sitting up near my Saturn V rocket. So that's one of the reasons I got the space one, was because I already had a space one that was, basically art that you had to build. And so I was like, well, I'll get these other couple ones that fit that same theme, because there are real cool ones, like the $200 like Harry Potter one that's like the castle. That's like, that would be cool to build, but I don't really care about. Like,
I thought it was like way more than that.
Oh, maybe it's more. I don't know.
I think it's
anyway,
like $400 to $600.
That one.
They're so fucking expensive. Yeah. It is ludicrous.
One of my roommates has it, and it takes up the entirety of the living room counter table.
Exactly. Yeah.
Table.
Yeah. So I don't have a place
to. Can't see the TV from the couch.
Oh, who needs to do that? But that like. So that's why I was like, oh, I don't want to get one that I want to build, and then that's it. I want to have something that I actually would like to show off, which I think these do a good job of. The only other one I would have thought of getting was the Bugatti Chiron from that's like the Technic one, but it costs $350. It looks awesome, but I was like, I'm not spending $350 or even $300 on Legos.
Yeah, probably.
I'd been looking at Legos. I don't remember how it came up. Some conversation with my brother. And I was looking up. We were talking about like how Legos are so expensive now, and like we had some awesome like old Lego sets that were like medieval castles and things that were big sets.
Yep.
And I was like, man, they never used to be that expensive. And then I looked them up, and no, they were that expensive back then. Especially like if you adjust for inflation, they've always been like redonkulously expensive for those big kits.
Yep. They would just appear though, and you're like, oh, this has no intrinsic value to me. So this
Correct.
must have been real cheap.
Santa Claus has deep pockets.
Yes, he does. So I did that, which was a lot of fun, and then also recently, did we talk about it last week? Fall Guys.
Yes.
I don't remember. Yes, we did. Okay. Well, we've been playing more of it, and more of the gaming group have bought it. Like Jeff bought it.
Well, I bought it when it came out. But...
Right, but you just hadn't played it that much. Wes bought it. He's on Linux, and he wasn't sure if he could play it or not. And then I sent him an article that was like, "Here's how you play it," and he's like, "Great, I'm gonna buy it." So, servers have been sort of shitty still because it's a lot of inflow of people playing, but it's been fun.
Yeah, it's like millions and millions, like 7.5 million or 4.5 million, something like that, players.
Bonkers.
Between
Well,
PlayStation, who got it for free, and PC,
which was like $20. So
yes,
yeah, it has been fun.
Yeah, and you're 9-time
Fall Guy winning.
Yes.
When Jeff and I were playing, like I'd give him some advice, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's good." And I'd be like, "Yeah, well, you know, as a 7-time winner at that time, it's like you really need to trust what I'm saying." And I say 7 because when we were playing, I won 2 more times
that night. We'd always increase it. The next piece of advice: 8-time winner. Oh, thank you, Zach. As 8-time winner, I really value. And then the slime one, I just couldn't even. Multiple times, I would just get fucked by something or another that, and then I'd fall in the slime and it'd be over.
Yep.
Fall Guys.
That's it for me. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I don't think I've really. Oh, I did finally get Carrion, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's free.
Yeah,
on
but have
the
a lot
Game
of fun
Pass.
Carrion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I need to get back to it. It
Same
always
here.
sits there, and I'm just like, oh, I should play that more. It's not that long of a game.
it occasionally frustrates me because the dudes with the little electric shields are sometimes, like, at least on my Xbox, really fucking hard to kill. Like, I just can't quite maneuver to whip things into them to smack them down and then go eat them.
You just gotta be sneaky.
You gotta be sneaky. Go right behind them and then just grab them and then just throw them against everything.
They're not very good at object permanence, so once you're outside of their line of sight, they sort of just turn their shield off and wander back.
Yep.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Nah, the alien's gone.
Yeah. Have you come up against any of the mechs yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I've killed 3 mechs, I believe,
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
The first time it was like, oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah. No, yeah, the first time I tried to kill it, it was a fucking hard-fought battle. And then the second and third time, it was like, okay, I get what you're supposed to do now, so it made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it's like that first time, you're like, oh, I guess I'll just rush it, and then it just mows you down.
Rips you
and
apart.
you're like, oh, God, what the fuck do I do?
With many, many bullets.
Yep.
Yeah, the first one I tried, like, smashing it with a bunch of grates and stuff, and I was like, this is doing nothing.
You gotta rip parts
I'm
off
in
of it.
danger.
Yes.
Yep.
You have to rip it apart.
Yeah. I also don't super love the little, like, drone guys who pop out of the wall, and you gotta kill them all before, like, the next door opens. That's real frustrating.
They're not too bad.
it's-
You just grab them and smash them against things.
Yes.
That's what I do.
Now, to
Except
be fair,
they
I
see
don't-
me too soon and zap me.
I don't know how much harder it is on a controller versus, like, a mouse and keyboard. So...
Yeah, I've been using mouse and keyboard, so I can kind of target what I want real easily with the mouse. Where I would assume that's slower on a controller.
Yeah.
I think so. So, I do like the way, like, you get bigger the more you eat, and so, like, it gets harder to control your giant mass as well.
Yes.
And I discovered there's a third stage to that as well.
I have not gotten that far.
I haven't gotten that far yet either,
Yes.
but I figured there was as soon
Yeah,
as the layers.
you turn real red and real demony once that
I'm sure.
happens. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I got to the part where you can start, like, controlling people, and that's about it.
It's pretty soon
I
after
just
that.
got there the last time I played.
Yeah.
Which is real fun, too. It's real
it is.
satisfying to kill guards with their own, like,
Guns.
friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shooting bullets is fun.
Who knew? Cool. Well, I think that's gonna be it for banter.
I haven't.
Do you have more banter?
I didn't banter at all.
Oh,
He just bantered with us. He didn't
Yes.
bring his own banter.
okay. Well, no, you just got, I don't know, so much Fall Guys and other things with Zach. It felt like, I don't know. I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry. What's your banter? Banter away.
So I finished assembling all of the Indominus Warhammer 40k box. All
Nice,
the Necrons.
that's great banter right there.
Yep, and done. So I got all the Space Marines and all the Necrons built. I've actually primed up all of the stuff that I'm going to do in regular Dark Angel colors, which are all the Intercessor, like the melee squad, and then the heavy weapons dudes, the multi-melta guys, and the three bikers. The bikers are actually going to be in black because the bike company of the Dark Angels are actually Ravenwing, which they will be all black instead of green. I'm using all contrast paints. I really like the contrast paints that I used on my Blood Bowl team, the Lizardmen, and so I bought a bunch of those to do up the Dark Angels, and I think it looks fucking fantastic for how easy it is to paint. All you do is just kind of like one coat, and it looks awesome for the most part. Anything that's kind of like a big flat area with not any texture, it sort of dries uneven and doesn't look very good. So you sort of have to put another coat on there where it'll even it out, but with another coat, it kind of turns it from that dark green into more of a black, or at least an extremely dark green. But it also makes it look not kind of blotchy and crummy, which, from what I read online, Dark Angel's green is kind of hard to make look consistent. But like the weapons and the like little detailed, like the little eagle across the chest, even just with one little coat, looks fantastic. But you have to be really careful when you're doing the darker armor because it's a lighter color, and unless you want to break out your regular acrylics to sort of erase the color with like a white paint, and so you can then paint back over it. You just have to be careful with those lines, and with how, the contrast paints are basically a wash, so they're very runny. They can easily get into spots you don't want it. But from the 3 models I did the whole thing. I think they look pretty great for just a standard casual tabletop play. So I look forward to painting the rest of those here pretty soon, while I sit at my computer and watch movies. And then maybe I'll actually play the game.
Maybe.
I think Ant and I have... I have learned the game. Ant and I have communicated to try and get a game together sooner or later.
Did you watch a 15-minute video? No, you got it down pat?
I watched a couple... Yeah, that's, got it. Boom. Crushed it.
Yep.
It's not too different from the old editions that I used to play. And then, generally playing war game-like games for a long time. And even Blood Bowl, like it's easy to be like, oh, we have equal strength, it's a 4+. Oh, you have higher strength, it's a 2+. Oh, I have higher toughness, well, now you need a 5+. That comes pretty easy to us.
Brag about it some more, Jeff.
Yeah, it's not all that hard to play. It just gets into the nitty-gritty details when you try and get into some weird high-level competitive play with some of the absolute batshit insanely crazy like Imperial Knights and like super huge monsters and tanks, super heavy tanks, flyers, aircraft. But the starter set, it's just bikes and dudes and undead robot guys. They've really leaned into
those undead robot guys.
They've really leaned into the more undead part of Necrons with the new sets. Like there's like wires hanging out of their stomachs, kind of like intestines and stuff like that, or their like jaws off. But yeah, I've been having fun painting them.
Right on.
Yeah.
Sure, you'll hopefully have just as much fun playing with them once they're all painted and ready to go.
Absolutely not.
Have faith, Jeff. Have faith. Cool. Well, now I think that officially wraps up banter. And so we can move on to Jeff talking about more 40K spin-off stuff.
Specialist
in the Bloody
games,
Minute.
sir, is what they're officially called.
Oh, my bad. How could I mess that up?
Yes.
Get it right, man.
So I'm going to talk about the most wonderful specialist game, Blood Bowl. I don't remember if I talked about last week, but the full leaks are out for the new edition. Like, everything leaked. So everyone knows everything. They've seen everything. And then they all got taken down, but it was too late because we already saw everything.
There's a hole in the wall where they can see it all.
Yes. Still optimistic about everything. It seems pretty cool. I look forward to playing the new edition. The only thing that's not great is there's like 5 or 6 teams that aren't in the main book, which, fingers crossed, they'll have some sort of teams of legend, like Amazons, Chaos Dwarves, Vampires, High Elves, and 1 or 2 others are just not in the book. So they don't have updated rosters for like passing and stuff like that. So
that seems unideal.
Yeah, so either someone's making those, or there will be like a PDF online that you can get those teams. Most people think they're not in there because they are models Games Workshop has not done new models for. So everything that's in the book is all their new teams for this the 2016 edition. So fingers crossed, because Necromantic is in the book and is their new models, which they have announced. So hopefully we'll get those teams in some fashion down the line with official models, but hopefully there are temporary rules to hold everyone over until then.
Okay.
On to the actual playing of the game. We started up our new season on Fumble. This is like the major bash league that my Tomb Kings ended up in 3rd place last season. So, of course, that means I have to play Ant's number 1 orcs in the first round of this new season. So that's what we did. Thankfully, we got it out of the way. It was probably the most even game that Ant and I have played in a long time outside of the championship game that I won. But even that one, it was like our big guys just boneheaded the whole fucking game. So... this one was pretty even, especially I got 4 casualties and plus some, like a bunch of knockouts. I was removing left and right, but the block dice were generally pretty even. I'd still pushed quite a lot. I had like 38% of my dice were pushes, where you would normally see like 32, so I did have more pushes than average. He had a couple more POWs than average, but I definitely outblocked him. The dice was pretty even. Just a couple plays where it was like double skulls, double like skull both down, some rough turnover, failed blocks, and stuff like that. But he has so many reserves, even with all these casualties I was doing, that he had all of his guys on the pitch. He has a goblin on his team that he has never played with.
Okay.
But I had done enough damage to where he finally had to go on the pitch for a turn or 2. He had to put him out. And he had a fantastic foul. It was going to be like a +4 foul against one of my Tomb Guardians. But he needed a dodge, but he's stunty. Whatever, it's a 3+ reroll. He either snaked it or like 2-1, whatever. Fell over, broke his armor, knocked himself out.
Oh my god.
It was his first. It was like his first or second action ever, and immediately just KO'd himself. And I was like, well,
Nice.
and he's gone. As is tradition, I used all my rerolls on double skulls or failed go for it's, because of course
There you
that's
go.
like why have a chance to do anything else except blow your rerolls and things like that. I think I had. I don't think I ever went. No, I did go down on a double skull reroll, double both down. But I had 2 other double skulls before that I ended up rerolling into some sort of push. But that was not great.
Doesn't sound great.
Yeah. Ant had discovered that he forgot to hit use settings for our custom Blood Bowl settings, which are rules that we change, like where Pylon doesn't use a reroll. So he used Pylon, and I was like, did that use a reroll? And he's like, fuck! Fuck me! But we did discover that if he goes back into the league settings, then actually saves what that setting is, we exit the game, come back in, then the settings were correct.
Oh, that's
So it only cost
Yeah,
him
that is
1
good.
reroll, and I mean he ended up scoring that half anyways. Thankfully, he didn't need that last reroll, because he needed like 2 go for it's to get it. Then in the second half, our kickoff events were meh. Of course, I received, so I got to go first, and then he got perfect defense, so he just got to reset everyone anyways, and I was like, fuck. And that was like going to be like a big bash turn. We had a weather change, and then like a reroll. Like, no real exciting kickoff events, unfortunately. Yeah, so he ended up winning 2-0, but once again, he's like the bashiest team with the highest casualty differential, so once again, I'm the one that handed him, I think, his second game of taking more casualties than he causes. I didn't do a ton of permanent damage. He's got like a Black Orc that had no star player points that has minus move that he can just buy another one because he got 70k off this game alone. He has a lineman that got minus move, and who cares because he has like 15 players. And then one of his good blitzers is missed next game, and then a generic lineman's going to miss next game. So he's going to have some miss next game dudes, but it's not a big deal overall for him. And I took no damage, so pretty happy.
Good for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I wanted to come out of that game, because I'm super afraid of how much he's going to bash the shit out of me. And he was super successful with his pylons after that. Like he would knock me down, not break my armor, and then pile on, which let him reroll the armor, and he would almost break every single time that he got the reroll. But he would just stun, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the reason pylon needed a reroll before is because you could reroll and you could add your Mighty Blow or Claw to it. So you got to roll if you rolled a 7, you would break because your armor would be 7 and you have Mighty Blow. So you didn't roll a 7 or you get a reroll. Did you roll a 7 again? Like the chances of off of 2 rolls rolling a 7 is pretty high, and that's why they nerfed it. In the new edition, you won't be able. Well, pylon's gone. Period. But you won't be able to stack like Claw and Mighty Blow anymore. So you'll still need to roll an 8 or more to break armor now.
Oh.
Yeah. And they're adding a skill that negates Claw, period.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Let's like Iron Hide or something. You're just immune to Claw. So if you're armor 9 and they have Claw, you're just still armor 9.
Okay.
My next game is against the Park Hill FC. They are dwarves. I will have dwarves who have a death roller, but they still haven't played their first round game against the brand new team, Old World Alliance. Someone did an Old World Alliance team for this season, who are not great under these current rules, but will be better under the new edition rules. All the dwarves in the now have Loner, which is a 4+. If they need to reroll, they need to roll a 4+, or they use the reroll. Either way, in the new edition, they'll have like a 3+ Loner, so it's easier for them to use the rerolls. And then they have some of the new skills, like Armbar and Brawler. What Armbar is, if you dodge away, or leap away, or jump away, and fail from a player that has Armbar, the ground gets Mighty Blow. so they're like if you failed, they like clotheslined you down on the way down, so you don't get the extra. So the ground gets a +1 to armor and injury rolls if you fail to dodge moving away from. Yeah, so the ground becomes harder if you fail a dodge away. And then Brawler is you get to reroll a both down that you rolled. So. So we'll see what happens in that game. How so it's really just dwarves on Old World Alliance, which is dwarves and humans. If I can catch that game, I will watch it, but I probably won't because I am still working nights.
Yeah,
for now.
Now you said the one guy's team will be better under the new rules. Are you guys planning to switch to the new rules at some point?
I know Fumble has already put in the pass stat into their system. So whenever the new edition comes out, they can switch over to that. I think Fumble will go to the new rule set because it seems pretty unoffensive change-wise. I mean, skills definitely got the most changes, but the base game still seems to be there with a general nerf to agility teams because not every player on an agility team is throwing and catching on a 2+ now. Now it's just the thrower
Sure.
position on that team that's going to be throwing on a 2+. That's where Paul has his big problem because he likes Wood Elves because they're broken, because they can do all that shit, and now they can't be great at everything agility-wise.
What, bullshit Paul playing a bullshit group that's good at everything? No.
The pro elves actually have the best passing of the elf teams. Dark elves also do not have a pass position, so dark elves don't even have a 2+ throw anymore.
Oh wow.
Oh damn.
Yeah, their runner, who was kind of like the ball thrower / carrier, he just had dump off pass, but they don't have I don't believe they have a 2+ now at all. But I didn't get a close look at the dark elves before GW took everything out online, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere. But dark elves, wood elves, undead, those were kind of the big three. And not always does that mean big three in league versus tournament. Some are better in league, some are better in tournaments. But wood elves were kind of the best in both. So they probably could have used a smooshing of sorts.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So yeah.
Right on.
Right on. Oh, did I mention orcs have animosity on everything in their new fucking rules? Holy shit.
You did not mention that.
Basically,
no.
if they ever want to move the ball from one player to another, they need a 2+, because orcs fight amongst each other or something.
What?
Yeah, that's a pretty big nerf to to orcs.
Jesus, no kidding.
Yeah, orcs were pretty good too.
Okay.
That's Blood Bowl.
Well, that wraps up Bloody Minute Blood Bowl stuff. So we can move on over to a news and Kickstarter segment that I think for the first time in almost a month is going to have both news and Kickstarter.
Yes. First up in news, we have Ashes Redux. Phoenix. This uses Phoenix Reborn, but that's too stupid.
Yeah.
Rise of the Phoenix Born. Not a great Tenacious D album.
It's got some good songs, but it's not.
No. Rise of the Phoenix Born is not a good Tenacious D album. Rise of the Phoenix is a good Tenacious D album.
Okay, then yes, that's fine.
Yes.
Your clarification is acceptable, Jeff. So this is like a 1.5, 2.0, who knows. Basically, so a little while back, you may remember that Plaid Hat broke free of the shackles of Asmodee. And almost immediately, one of the things people said was like, does this mean we'll finally get more Ashes? And then the designer, Isaac Vega, left PHG, Plaid Hat, and went off on his own. And so everybody was like, oh, no more Ashes. But then Plaid Hat still managed to work out a little partnership with Team Covenant. And they have started up a subscription service, it seems like. So it's Ashes Reborn subscription service. And the first release of that will be the 1.5 upgrade kit, which is 350 rebalanced, redesigned, and reprinted Ashes 1.0 cards, which will represent roughly 30% of the entire possible pool of Ashes cards.
I guess it's going to be more like an LCG release type schedule.
Well, that's what it was before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they said that they want this to be basically that they sat down and they tried to think of a way to make a viable like LCG, CCG type game with the smaller player base that Ashes has. And they came up with this little subscription service that will help get people the cards they need to stay viable and like participate. And it will maybe be more slimmed down than the standard way of doing like big box and small box releases spread out. I don't know. There's not a lot of information about like what the ultimate plan is for this. They did announce that the second release is going to be a deluxe expansion deck, the Breaker of Fate, and is going to feature the Phoenix-born character Jericho Kill, whose deck Path of Assassins won the Ashes tournament in 2018, and is going to retire that deck and replace it with this new Breaker of Fate deck. So we'll see.
Yeah. It looks like they tried to service it like like you said, like a normal LCG thing, but it just wasn't profitable, and so that's why they're trying to do these subscriptions, because they really needed to go over 100 or 1,000 subscribers, really, to at least continue making it sustainably.
Are you guys familiar with Covenant?
Not really.
With Covenant?
Yes.
Oh, Team Covenant. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like they're an LCG content release subscription. They'll send you whatever the new release is without you having to buy it, I guess. They just do it.
I don't know if they became a thing during Netrunner, but I know of them through Netrunner.
Okay.
And it was you would buy the game from them, and you'd get like some little promo thing, because I think they started out making like acrylic tokens.
Okay.
So like I have friends that had acrylic tokens for Netrunner from them, and then they eventually started going on to selling the subscriptions through them as well. So one, you always got it, and then two, you got a little extra thing for going through them.
Gotcha.
And they continued that with Marvel. And they stream a lot of stuff too, I know, like discussing the games, discussing all these different LCGs.
Yeah. It just seems like they have like Marvel Champions Hero Pack subscription, $12.95 per release. And then you can join that subscription and it just charges you.
Correct.
Yeah. And then you just get it.
Correct. And you should get it around launch day. So. Yes.
It seems like they're all sold out of all of those things though. So
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So I guess it's a little cheaper, if you subscribe, like $2.
Sure.
Yeah.
A little.
Let's say 13% off, because that's what it says on the website. So they're doing that for Ashes, basically.
Yep.
You can just.
So if you are somebody who's dying to get back into Ashes, maybe this is how you can do it.
And especially because it seems like you may only be able to get it through Covenant and Plaid Hat Games. So
yeah, it's possible.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I played it once. It was okay. I really liked the art, but the gameplay didn't blow me away. But I've never really been much of a fan of like LCG, CCG type games in general. There's been a few exceptions, but it's definitely not my preferred thing.
I had a friend that got it, and we played it a couple times. I was like, it's fine. But then we just went back to Netrunner. So
yeah. I feel like that's what I would do in a similar situation.
Yeah. It always seems like they're trying to get like Magic into an LCG or a style thing. So that's what like Epic was, similar to that too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I feel like they normally don't get the audience that they're looking for.
No, it almost never actually ends up working, I don't think. So we'll see how this works for them.
Yes, we will.
But yeah, that's Ashes 1.5 basically.
Yes.
Next up
in news, Tapestry is getting its first official expansion. Plans and Ploys.
Indeed. So a little bit of details out about this, not a whole lot. There might be a few tweaks to some of the faction setups that will be included on the back of the rule book.
Yeah, so it's not going to include the tweaks that the balance tweaks he did to those civs. It's just going to be on the back of this rule book, and you're not going to get replacement sheets.
Right. It will not fit in the original box. It's going to include an additional card, new miniatures, new civs, and then more to be announced later. And it's currently going for about never mind. That's the base game. Base game is about $45 right now.
Really? I thought it was way more than that.
Well, it was on August 12th on Game Nerd's Deal of the Day.
Okay.
I don't know what it is currently going for.
Probably like $80. $80 to $100 is what I would suspect.
But yeah. This article doesn't have any more information other than that. It's going to be available for pre-order in early September and shipped soon after. But
yeah, so it's just going to add 7 new landmark miniatures, 5 landmark cards, 15 tapestry cards, 4 new space tiles, and 1 replacement. So that's probably replacing the one that there was a misprint on or something like that. There was an errata even in the rulebook. and then 12 landmark tiles for the advancement track. So it seems like each advancement track is going to get 3 more landmarks on it, maybe?
Sure.
Maybe?
Something like that.
Maybe. I know they're adding a new card type, too. I think you mentioned this.
And then they're adding a bag for the territory tiles. So you're going to bag draw those instead of picking off from stacks.
That seems more better.
Yes.
Yeah. Would an expansion... Like, first of all, would you guys play this game again? I forget where you all ended up on it.
I think I was more on no, or at least on only very, like 3 players only, I think, where that one side has, 3 islands for 3 players.
Yes.
Yeah. Where the other side
for me,
is 6 islands for 5 players.
Yeah. It's been a roller coaster of emotion. I think on the review I ended fairly positive. Where I was like, yeah, it came around, and yes, despite the unbalance, it's just a lot of fun, and I don't get it.
You were surprisingly the most
positive about it. Yeah.
Positive, yeah.
But then I took it to my grandma's house and played a couple games with Megan, and it just rapidly spiraled. I definitely don't like it at 2 players. I don't think certainly not at this point. And I don't know. I'd give an expansion a shot, I guess. I'd want to see some of what's in it.
If it was an expansion with just more versus an expansion that adds something like this.
No.
This seems like it's mostly more.
Yeah, no, I don't need more.
Okay.
I need fixes and adjustments and new.
Sort of like the Terra
it's whatever
Incognita.
It's whatever the additional card type is, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think I need more civilizations. Yeah, and it's probably whatever the landmark cards actually do.
Right.
Yeah, but there's 5 of them, so who knows what that actually does. There are new 7 landmark miniatures that are getting added. They're probably just different shapes, I guess.
Who can say?
Yeah. I don't think this is gonna,
change anybody's mind.
I don't think so. There is a picture of the landmark cards on the website. Game Store. At the end of your turn, if you have at least 1 Tapestry card in your top row, it looks like the back of a Tapestry card. Gain this landmark, and it's like a 2x3. And then there's a space tile that gives you a 2x2. It's the monolith. Yeah. Entertain the masses. When played, gain the stadium landmark and place it in your capital city. So it seems like there's sort of just more landmarks, which could help balance some civs that need landmarks. And if everyone takes all the landmarks, they're kind of fucked. So this is just more landmarks that might help certain ones. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think there was a price on this.
It couldn't be.
It seems saw.
It seems like it doesn't add a ton, so I wouldn't be surprised at more than
30 or 40?
30 or 40, yeah.
Hopefully. So yeah, more Tapestry coming for all the Tapestry fiends out there.
Indeed.
That's it for news.
Yeah, no more news. On to Kickstarters.
First up in Kickstarter, we have Sniper Elite. Very well funded, 62,000 of its $29,000 goal. 819 backers. About 2 weeks left to pledge this one. Its most popular pledge being the Elite pledge level at $105. Shipping is also not great on this one. You're looking at about 13 to 25, 35 euros for shipping. So 13 to 35 bucks.
Damn.
Yeah. But I do have to say, the one thing that I was intrigued by this one, and which I was like, hey, we should definitely talk about this. Sniper Elite, the board game, is made by Rebellion, who made the video game. And this is their board game division. So it's not
Rebellion
just
Unplugged.
Not like that Wolfenstein game that was farmed out to a terrible company.
Yeah. So Sniper Elite, the board game, is going to be a stealth action miniatures game for 1 to 4 players. Essentially, one player takes on the role of the Allied sniper Carl Fairburn, who is the character from this video game. And up to 3 other players will control squads of German soldiers who are trying to balance between defending the base and hunting Carl down. The sniper is trying to keep their location secret by tracking movement on a secret hidden board. Defenders use a mix of tactical planning and insight to track the sniper's movements, use miniatures to block paths, guard vulnerable areas, and then eventually, when you have located them, move in for the kill. So sounds kind of like some of those other, like there's like the Friday the 13th style board game.
Oh yeah, it's a hidden movement game, unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
Have you played the actual video game at all, Adrian?
I have not, no. I've seen clips from it because it's the one where like it does the crazy like zoomed in sniper shots,
X-ray
right?
sniper shot where you see all the
That's
bullets inside get blown up.
Yeah, that's why one of the minis that's unlocked is the test-to-kill for celebrating you shooting Hitler in the nuts to kill him.
Yeah.
It's actually a really fun game. I've
owned all of them. I never really played the fourth one, but I heard it was like also the best one that they've done so far.
Yes, it's really cool. You just basically get sat in dropped on an island, and you have to go just kill everyone or do whatever your objectives are. And it's very much, if you try and like run and gun with people, you're gonna get fucked real quick. You have to be stealthy on a lot of things and play with sound and like patrols and stuff like that. And it seems like that idea would work good in a hidden movement game.
I agree.
So,
and this is also going to have a solo mode from David Churchy, Anachrony guy.
Yeah, that guy.
And then he did the Teotihuacan solo mode and a bunch of other, as they say here. But the solo mode it's in the hands of someone that does some good stuff for that. So,
indeed,
it seems like they know what they're doing.
And the solo mode will only be in the Eagle's Nest expansion, not the base game, which is pretty critical knowledge.
Yes. But it's good that the base game doesn't include it if you're not going to play that, right?
Yes.
So,
exactly.
Because then it would definitely increase the price. So,
yeah,
you would think so.
The base game's $53.
Yes,
which is not awful.
No, it's not too bad.
Comes with some extra minis for snipers that seem to be based off of the Zombie Army series. If you've ever seen those, there's a bunch of them, and they're always dirt cheap, like $1 on sale or something. Me and my friend Eric played through a little bit of the first one. We're like, it's kind of like wait, kill things, and then you move on to the next area that you then kill things.
Like World War Z?
But less.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's not.
Yeah,
okay.
It's no Left 4 Dead. Like it's
right.
more of a take Sniper Elite's engine and then try and fight zombie soldiers off in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. That sounds like something I want to do.
Yeah. It was okay. But Sniper Elite, great.
Yeah. The video game you can actually play it like 2-player, and you have one person like be the spotter, and then one person is the actual sniper.
That's cool.
I don't think I can't see a way for you to really implement that in this game.
Not yet.
But no. But that would be cool if you could.
Yeah, it seems neat. I wish there was more detail on exactly what the sniper's objectives were. They don't really have what the sniper's trying to do in the game.
Doesn't sabotage the submarine or steal the attack plans? That doesn't give you enough information, Jeff?
Not exactly. But there are a shit ton of videos that are full playthroughs on the bottom of this. I watched a little bit of them as we were doing prep. There's like full playthroughs, full walkthroughs, Dice Tower, and Man vs. Meeple, and from Rebellion themselves. So, and then there's a shorter, like just Dice Tower preview if you just kind of want to see components and stuff like that too. So
cool.
Yeah, it seemed like they were pretty out ahead with everything they were doing for this game. Seems neat.
Yeah. So that's Sniper Elite from Rebellion Unplugged. Go check it out. Next up,
we have Arkwright, the card game. Very well funded. 40,000 of its $25,000 goal, just under 1,400 backers. About 2 weeks left to pledge this one, which is only a mere $29.
Yeah.
Or do they screw you with shipping? Like $90 for shipping? No. About $12 to $38 for shipping. So still not great, but
no.
And then extra copies are free shipping for that too.
Yes,
so that's good.
if you want more than one.
So do group pledges.
Yep.
Anyhow, so Arkwright, the card game is, surprise, surprise, as is always the case with something the card game, it's a streamlined version of Arkwright.
Is 100 minutes streamlined for Arkwright?
Yes,
Okay.
100% it is.
I would guess
Definitely. Yes, a 3.5 weight, 100-minute game is streamlined version of Arkwright. Arkwright is one of the games that has like regularly been described as like Spreadsheets, the board game.
Yeah, it's got a 4.57 weight.
Yeah. So this is a streamlined version from designer Stefan Riesthaus, who is the designer of Arkwright. It boasts an easier action selection mechanism, clear handling due to reduced components, streamlined shipping and marketing system rules, additional actions for more strategic approaches, and a more manageable playing time, and also a complete visual overhaul, including all new beautiful illustrations by Mehdi Marouche. And like Jeff said, it's for $29. So Arkwright basically is a game about building factories and then running them well. And so in Arkwright's
like
card game, you're
Brass the card game, but you only worry about the factory part.
Yeah, so it's like Brass zoomed in. So you're really focused on one of your factories and making sure it actually runs well.
You want to make sure all the child labor is doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
See, now, Jeff, you just made me imagine like a ridiculous game where you play Brass to build out the whole board, and then you play that many different games of Arkwright. Like, for each factory, you play a separate game of Arkwright, and it just takes 7 years to finish.
Yes.
So you're building factories, employing workers, producing and selling goods, and then there's all kinds of different things that can pop up, crises and things. So the card game's going to be played over 3 decades, each decade split into 4 rounds, and you can do a variety of different actions. You can build and upgrade factories, employ workers, automate production by replacing workers with machines, improve quality, or invest in better distribution, or you can go to the stock market to buy shares or take loans to improve your wealth. Then after everybody's done their actions for a round, you go into the production phase. Each player that owns a factory which produces whatever the current good is can then try to sell goods to the home market, which will increase your share, or you can store goods and ship them to foreign lands for more money. So whether you want to increase your share or get more cash in hand is one of those decisions you kind of got to make there. And you do that, like I said, that's each round. You do 4 rounds per decade for 3 decades, so 12 total rounds. And then whoever has the highest combined share value is the winner. You can currently give this a try over on Tabletopia if you want to see how it plays. I'm super interested in this. I've been really kind of vaguely interested in Arkwright for a long time, but it is notoriously like hard to learn, hard to teach, takes a long time, and is kind of dry, which are things that are not necessarily that I'm opposed to. I do like 18xx after all, and it's all of those things also. But I've just never really found somebody who's willing to teach me, and I'm not interested in trying to learn it on my own. But if this plays similar enough where maybe this would be a good way to like try it, see if I like it, learn a little bit about it, and then maybe some of that I already know, some of the core mechanics, maybe they transfer back to Arkwright. I don't know. Maybe somebody who's played Arkwright, or who's maybe we know somebody who's gotten lucky and gotten a demo or something, the card game, and they can chime in or something. I don't know. I definitely like the art graphic design on this one. It's got a bunch of cool little bits. Stretch goals are unlocking more and more stuff. They're getting close to like a bunch of like their next 1, 2, 3, 4, next 4 stretch goals are all custom markers and things like that. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in this, especially for only like $30. That seems like a pretty reasonable price, even if the shipping is a bit higher than I'd like to see.
Yeah, it's definitely cheaper than I was expecting it to be.
It's a lot of game.
Indeed.
A lot of dry Industrial Revolution game.
Yes. So,
Basically, you'll know if you want to get this game or not already, pretty much.
So that wrapping up Kickstarter brings us over to listener feedback. Sadly for Jeff, still no new emails.
Still no new
People
emails.
have really been slacking on the emails.
Yep.
We do have a new comment over on Paulo's Corner in YouTube from none other than Paulo himself. So from episode 198, Not Today, he says, Lockup is a great, great game. I consider it to be more of an auction game with the strength of workers than a worker placement game. Yes, you are putting workers in spaces, but you aren't blocking players from going to the same place or making it harder for them to go there. The classic worker placement definitions aren't present.
I
It's
want
an
to just
auction-
comment. I just want to comment on this real quick. I think I was the one that originally called it a worker placement, and I didn't mean to, and I just forgot to correct myself. So I wholeheartedly accept that I was wrong.
I'm glad that you own your mistakes, Zach.
I mean, as a 9-time Fall Guy winner, I feel that it's best to be humble. So
Yes.
Most humblest.
He continues, it's an auction on 7 locations with different types of auctions in different sections because you're using your, quote, money, the strength of your gang members, to try to get the rewards of the location. The brilliant twist that elevates this game to another level is that per round, 2 of the gang members can be placed face down so you can bluff and keep others guessing your intentions. And biggest thing of all is that when you bid on a location, you have to make the right bid, because in normal circumstances, there are cards that allow you to break the rules. You can't go back later and upgrade your bid. It's a fantastic game that makes you suffer in each and every allocation of your bids. Thanks for your response to my comment from the other podcast. Completely agree with what you guys said. Smiley face. So, cool. I definitely want to play Lockup. After you talking about it, Zach, and then like this, I'm always down for a good auction game. And I didn't hear the word auction, I don't think, at all when you were talking about it before, so.
Which was talking about the expansion more than anything.
Yeah. So yeah. That is it for listener feedback as well. If you would like to get a hold of us, there are a variety of ways to do so. You could be awesome and send Jeff an email.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
You can follow all of us over on Twitter, where I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
We have an Instagram account at MHGameGuys. Our Facebook is facebook.com/MHGameGuys. And our website is milehighgameguys.com, where you can find links to things like our BGG guild number 2731, or our Slack channel, where if you hurry and join it soon, you can participate in all of the group chats that I'm sure are going to happen about the new Lovecraft show coming out on HBO tonight
Lovecraft
as we're
Country?
recording. Lovecraft
Yes.
Country. I couldn't
I'll
remember
be
the
watching
name.
it as soon as we finish. So
If
Yeah,
I didn't have to get up at 5 a.m., I would also go watch it right after we finish. But alas,
It's not Lovecraft County, right?
no, it's country.
country. Yeah. But yeah, so join the Slack channel and you can participate in conversations like that, or sports, marble leagues, board games, video games, beer, all kinds of stuff. And then we also have our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. It is currently every other week D&D streams with myself and the rest of the Mile High Dungeon Delvers, but that's still a lot of fun too, so check it out.
Check a look.
Indeed. And then, as always, we would like to take a little bit of time to thank our sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for their continued support of the show. Their latest game, Arcana Rising, is currently on Kickstarter. We talked about it last week, so you can go back and give that a listen. Or you can jump over to their website, grayfoxgames.com/Arcana Rising, and get the 411 on this new engine building, tableau building game where you're trying to best master 5 different schools of magic as you compete to become the most powerful sorcerer in the realms. Jeff, do you have a prepared statement for us?
Of course. Gray Fox Games. Quality games. Cleverly crafted. Also, bombs tell the time with every minute of their existence, and nothing else announces its own end with such a fanfare.
Sure. That doesn't sound ominous at all.
Oh.
Right on. I think that pretty much wraps everything up. Just a reminder, as I mentioned during the banter, in case you skipped it, we will be taking next week off because I will be out of town. And it just works very conveniently that this is episode 189. We're going to take a week off, and then we'll be back with episode 200. 200 episodes of this show.
Not counting all of the reviews and discussions, and I don't know, probably at least 50 to 75 other episodes we've done.
Oh, probably at almost 100. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yes.
Yeah, lots and lots of other episodes. But of the numbered episodes, we are up to the number 200. And so stay tuned for that. As always, thank you all for listening. I've been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm Chapter Master Jeff.
Bye.
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 Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.